On with us is U.S. Senator Roger Wicker. Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm doing fine, and thanks for that plug for the B.B. King Museum. It is world class, and it amazes me how many Mississippians haven't been to it.
All the museums, to be honest with you, we have some first class museums, and we're all proud of them. Look, there's so many different things to start off with. First of all, this cut from Tommy Tuberville.
Then there's distinguished senator from Alabama, a former coach of a winning football team, University of Alabama, Senator Tuberville. You know?
Hello, Coach Tommy Tuberville here.
The one who's blocking the nominations for America's finest military leaders, jeopardizing our national security over domestic socialism.
I'm not holding up readiness or recruiting. It's their woke military that is hurting recruiting and readiness. And so we're going to stick with this, and they need to find a way out of this because they have an unlawful law. And if they want to get it done, let's change that policy back the way it was and then bring what they want to the floor and let's vote on it.
Now, can you explain exactly what we're talking about? It seems that this is the abortion thing where they want to offer some abortion services as one of the incentives to joining the military. But from your desk, explain this to us.
Well, first of all, the Department of Defense had no business doing this. Mm-hmm. If someone wants to get a legal abortion in the United States of America, they need to take leave and go do that. I'm very pro-life, as you know, mm-hmm. and I think it's a terrible procedure. But if a military person wants to go out of state and have an abortion, they've got 30 days of annual leave, just like I had when I was in the Air Force, and they can do that. But this new policy is a way that the Biden administration is trying to make a point about the Dobbs decision, which of course arose in Mississippi. Yeah. And in addition, we've got a nominee for chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. To get that person confirmed, all Mr. Schumer has to do is bring that nomination to the floor, file cloture, have an appropriate amount of time for a vote, and bring it to a vote. So Senator Tuberville is not holding up all of the leadership of the United States military, as he's being accused of doing. I think really the Democrats think they've got themselves an issue that will help them in these swing states, and they're sort of enjoying blaming Senator Tuberville for making his point there. It's even more complicated than that, but the crocodile tears of the Democratic leadership really are masking the fact that they're enjoying this issue.
Well, from the chairman of your committee on Senate Armed Services, this guy that Biden picked as the next chairman of the Joint Chiefs, Charles Brown, he's the guy that set racial quotas for the Air Force to massively slash the number of white male officers down to 43%. One of the motives for doing that, and he said this, he's bitter about being questioned over the using reserved parking space and blames racism. There is only one quota that should exist in the U.S. military, according to one of your colleagues. 100% of the officers should be the best candidates available, promoted on ability, not race or chromosomes, period.
Well, you'll be pleased to know that we made some progress on that last week and the week before in the National Defense Authorization Act. I got my merit bill, the Merit Act, inserted into the National Defense Authorization Act, and that is now on its way to the House of Representatives for a conference report. It defines equity as simply equal opportunity, which is what we've always operated on. It's what we operated on when I was a member of the United States Air Force back in the 70s. And also, it prevents the teaching of critical race theory in these diversity classes. And another part of the bill that I shepherded through the Congress is that these diversity teachers are not going to be taken from the high officer, highly paid ranks. We're not going to put important national defense people teaching these diversity classes. So we're limiting the pay of the people that do that. So I'm very pleased with some of the progress that we made, and frankly, when we get to the House negotiators, of course, the House has a slight Republican majority, and we'll, I think, be able to keep those provisions because it's in the Senate bill that's come out with a one vote Democratic majority. Thankfully, we got Senator Manchin to vote with us and able to get those things in the Merit Act as part of the new bill. So we're making progress there.
I read over it, and when need be, we always are criticizing things that seem to be needed to be criticized. But kudos on this one, because with the partisanship that's in Washington, D.C., I think what you've gotten in that bill is pretty darn outstanding. So kudos for that one. Now, the senators.
Did you know? Let me ask you this, Paul.
Sure.
Did you realize? And I didn't realize this till I went down to the border.
Yeah.
The federal government has been paying landowners and property owners to store sections of the wall that they're not willing to pay to put up. And
that's my next.
The Biden administration is not willing to put the wall together, so they are spending our taxpayer dollars to have it stored. Can you imagine?
Did you guys ever look into have you looked into who's getting these contracts? This is the Finish It Act that Ted Cruz, Joni Ernst, and you have come up with. And I think I was looking at some of the numbers here. The Department of DOD is spending $47 million a year, $130,000 every day to store the
$130,000 a day, absolutely.
Have you looked
and
into
honestly, I did not know that till I got down to the border this last time, and I learned it from, frankly, dedicated federal officials who are down there on the ground wanting to enforce the law, and that's how we learned that, a border visit.
So what does the Finish Act say?
Well, what does who say?
It's called the. I thought it was called the Finish It Act.
Finish it. I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. The Finish It Act says use those segments of the wall to finish the wall.
Yeah. And
quit wasting money, storing it, and not using it as its intended purpose. So again, this is something that we were able just to make a logical argument on, and I guess there are enough vulnerable Democrats up for election next year that they couldn't bring themselves to vote with the administration's position. So, it's when public opinion shines the light on it, we're able to make at least some steps in the right direction on that.
Well, but do you think they'll slow walk this? It's going to be a long time before that actually happens?
Well, I hope not. Of course, there's only one person who can bring a bill to the floor, and that's the majority leader. But we are now in conference, and my hope is, the 1st of September, when the House and Senate get back from our summer break, we will get to conference and get it done. We're going to be talking about these things. All right. With House leaders over the August break, and I think
Senator,
I think we're in a good
we got a break coming up here. Hold on for just a second, Senator.
Speaker
Roger Wicker, hold on. We've got a break here, and we'll ask more. I want to find out what the update is on the NDAA, the National Defense Authorization Act. When we come back with U.S. Senator Roger Wicker, right after this. Back live in the Trustmark Studios with our guest, U.S. Senator Roger Wicker. When we left you, we were talking about the Authorization Act, the National Defense Act. Where does that stand this morning, Senator Wicker?
It has passed the United States Senate. Mm-hmm. It's passed the United States House of Representatives. And we will soon be going into a conference committee. It's got good news for Ingalls. We authorized over and above what the Biden administration was proposing. We authorized a new amphibious ship to be built by Ingalls in Pascagoula. Mm-hmm. We've got over a 5% military pay raise, and one of the things that we've got to deal with is this military recruiting problem. And one of the solutions that I have been advocating, and we got a real boost this time, is we are adding a huge number of junior ROTC units at our high schools around the country, and particularly making that available in smaller schools in rural areas. What we've learned is even if you've got a marginal school district, the junior ROTC unit is a subset of kids that do great. They graduate at higher rates. They make better grades. They stay in school. They have lower absenteeism. And a lot of them are more likely to go into the military. So I think it's one of the ways, in addition to getting away from this woke business, that we're going to try to increase military recruiting, because all of our military services are going to miss their goals this year, except for the Marine Corps. The Marine Corps has a smaller target, and they've always made their quotas. But every other service is not recruiting as many American young people as we need.
It's got to be something that you're worried about, because this is not a 1 quarter or even half a year statistic trend. This has been trending now for the last couple of 3 years, and
right.
I'm not sure how you turn that around.
The third year for some of the services not to make their goals, and I just have to think that the type of young person who wants to go and step forward and put themselves in harm's way for our country is not the type of person who sort of the critical race theory wokeness appeals to. They want to step forward, do something hard, go through basic training, prove themselves, and they're willing to put themselves out there to make our country safe, but they're not interested in a bunch of policy. So I hope that we are reversing that trend, but there are a number of issues, but one of them, and I think I'm going to talk about this in my column this week, that's probably out now. One of the best things that we can do for a young person is give them an opportunity voluntarily to go into junior ROTC and prove themselves.
It's really not that complicated when you start thinking about it, because you look at the raw bone patriotic young man, grew up on a farm, 4-H, or in a traditional family, even in the inner city where daddy has had influence. They love America. They understand the flag. They understand the opportunities and everything else. That is the set of people more likely to fight for their country. But then they see this wokeism that's going on, and that kills that demo. So you have some things working against
it. I think there's data to that effect. But let me tell you, Paul, I have visited junior ROTC units in Jackson, Mississippi, and I think we can all agree that Jackson school districts are really not where they should be at all, and that's something that we need to address at the state level. But when I visit junior ROTC in the Jackson high schools, there's usually an instructor there who's maybe a retired officer or a retired senior enlisted person, and the kids don't have to join, but if they join, they've got to submit to discipline. They've got to be there on time, and they got to follow the rules. And those kids are a shining example of what we would like for the rest of our inner city school districts to be. So it's a program that works. And don't just trust me. The Rand Corporation did an analysis of it, and they said yes. The way to teach citizenship and responsibility is to get more and more of our students in junior ROTC.
Let me ask you this.
I've always asked superintendents, would you like to have a junior ROTC? I ask principals. And to a person, they say, either they say, I'm glad we have them, couldn't do without them, or I would love to. And we've got a waiting list, and we're going to try to answer that question.
Are we out of bullets? Are we out of bullets?
No, we're not out of bullets, but our industrial capacity is it's not keeping up. But we are we're trying to address that, but it's been very, very slow. But
well, the way it sounds is we've sent most of our cash over to the Ukraine, and now we're low on ammunition, according to some people in the national news, giving this, and it doesn't make us feel safe across the country, but that's the mindset that we're getting, that we're sending everything we have to the Ukraine, and we're not producing enough.
Paul, this is one unintended benefit of what's happening is we've learned our industrial base is low, and particularly with regard to submarines. If we're going to dissuade China from starting a war in the Pacific, we're going to have to make more submarines. We learned, well, we're just not making enough submarines per year. So the fact that we are learning this actually has a hidden benefit. We're going to have to start making more submarines, and we're going to have to start making more ammunition. That's one of the reasons the president is sending the cluster ammunition to Ukraine, because we were frankly out of some other things. Listen, I'm at home, and someone is knocking at my door trying to get in. I've enjoyed being with you on this segment, but
well, I appreciate that. It might be a politician. It might be a politician asking for your vote. So let me let you go.
All right. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it very much.
Opened the back door, and now they're in. I think I'm safe. But look, Paul, good to be with you.
Thank you, sir.